Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wind Down Wednesday, episode 7. We're live on the right channel this week with no major hiccups. So that reinforces my feeling from last week that my dad was kind of messing with me while I was taking my grief meditation a little bit too seriously. And that's the first thing I want to say today is thank you. Thank you so much. If you were here last week live, if you watched that video in the last week, I say this, I think every week, but this collective practice is so powerful. And I was really vulnerable last week, and that takes courage. And I encourage you to tap into that same vulnerability and be courageous in letting your emotions flow freely. We are taught from an early age to let those emotions stagnate, to kind of push them down. And when you start to step into the flow of the emotions and process as you go, there's so much less that you have to process later. There's so much less that comes up if you can just flow in the moment and give yourself permission to be where you are emotionally in the moment. So I want to talk a little bit about that meditation because it's what led me to tonight's topic. So there was a point in that meditation when I was expecting to see my loved ones. That's what the meditation was for. And I figured with all the activity I was getting from my dad that he would be there. And a lot of times recently, my son, Evan, has been around again. And my beagle sometimes comes. Henry, apparently today is National Dog Day. So he came for a visit last week and he kind of comes and goes. And they were there. That's the meditation that I was in, was on my beach, kind of watching Henry and Evan play with my dad looking on. And I wasn't really expecting anything more. And I told you, and I was doing the same thing, to stay open, to try not to have expectations. And I was completely blown away by what happened to me next in that meditation. What happened to me was that I was staying open, and what I felt was this legion of souls, of spirits, of people around me. And the information that came in was that those were my ancestors. And the feeling that I had was that they were there with complete unconditional love and support to just hold me in love. And I was so overwhelmed that I teared up a little bit because I was in awe, in the true sense of the word. I was just in awe of this incredible power, of this incredible feeling of love, of this feeling of being held and cared for by thousands of people who had come before me. And I'd never had that experience quite like that before. So I worked with it. To be completely honest with you, I was totally overwhelmed. And I told my friend the next day, I felt like a truck hit me. And sometimes energy work can be that powerful. And it's important to recognize when you do need a break or when you are overwhelmed and let yourself process. So I took a day or two to process and kind of just set it aside and knew I would come back to it. And when I got back into meditation to reconnect with that, I started getting some information about how powerful that support can be for us. And I saw that that's what we were going to do this week. We were going to talk about our ancestors and ancestral trauma. I want to talk a little bit first about the difference between energetic inheritance and ancestral trauma. So energetic inheritance is something that I have intuited for a long time, and it's things like patterns of energy. So I just had a wonderful discussion this morning with Zoe from Paranormal Extraction. She has a show where she interviews people who deal with the paranormal and the metaphysical, and we talked about addiction. And it was a really powerful conversation. It was very fulfilling. I'm really excited. I'll be posting it on Facebook when she has her post, which should be in the next week or so. But that's definitely an energetic inheritance pattern, or it can be. Addiction, it can be new, but it can also be something that's passed down from generation to generation. There's other things like disease. We have genetic inheritance, we have the physical inheritance, but there's also energetic patterns. So things like heart disease, like heart disease runs in my family. there's an energetic pattern. There's a pattern of holding tension in certain areas of the body, of keeping your emotions locked down, of kind of being in anger. That's a very typical emotional pattern that's affiliated with heart disease. So inheriting actual disease patterns, to me, there's a genetic component, but there's also the energetic component. And to me, the energetic or the spiritual is always the foundation of everything. And then methods of coping. So if you have a certain way of dealing with things, some of that is learned, of course, behaviorally, but some of that I believe is actually part of your energetic inheritance. So that's not what we're talking about tonight. I wanted to make a distinction, and that may be a topic that we talk about more in the future because it is very important and it's something that you can deal with to try to heal. But what we're talking about tonight is ancestral trauma. And I want to make another quick distinguishment between that and past life trauma. So not everybody believes in past lives, and that's fine. I've had multiple memories for myself of past lives, so I absolutely do believe that I've lived in a past life, that my soul has lived in other bodies. And I also believe that the soul is so vast that you might even be living multiple lives as part of one soul at the same time, or part of one spirit. There's a lot of terminology here that sometimes is used interchangeably, and people may have differing opinions or definitions of them. So past life trauma is another topic that we could talk about, and absolutely that can affect you. I had a memory many years ago of being some sort of a priestess, where I was kind of a healer, and I was killed for my beliefs at a time when things were kind of shifting from matriarchy to patriarchy, and I was hunted like as a witch, I guess, and hit. And I had a lot of pain in this one area of my body. And after I addressed that, after I realized that I had that memory, I was able to release that, and that pattern of holding tension in this particular place in my neck and shoulder improved. So when I talk about some of this stuff, I feel like it's new to a lot of people, but I've had personal experiences of these things that make me believe that they're true and that they do affect us. So that's past life trauma. I want to talk about ancestral trauma tonight, and that's what we're going to meditate on. So if you go far enough back, we all have the same ancestors, right? We all started from the same two people. But then we diverge, right? There's people that, like, we migrated off a continent and then we ended up here. And so you have a pattern of ancestors. You have a tree of ancestors that's specific to you and to your family that branches out from that original ancestor. And that's a very powerful line of energy that's coming to you from the past. So I want to talk a little bit about a story that will maybe make a little bit more sense. And this is a fairly new topic to me. So I'm going to tell you this story about an experience I had just to kind of illustrate what I'm talking about and how this can be powerful. So I was receiving some energy work from a friend several months ago, and I wasn't sure what to expect. I always go into an energy work session with an open mind, with an open heart. And we were guided into this event that had happened in the lineage on my father's side of the family. And it was something that caused a great deal of shame at the time that happened. And then that shame came all the way down from however many generations. This seemed like it was probably 3 to 5 generations back, if not more. And I got kind of a feeling of what was going on, but the details aren't important, because what is important is that this shame was passed down all the way to me. And during this healing session, I was guided to bring these ancestors who were involved into a healing session. I brought them to my energetic sanctuary. I have a healing cave, and we sat down and they were able to heal their trauma. And what I felt in my body was a huge weight lifted off my chest. And I felt like a lot of the shame that I had felt, from childhood was actually a result of this ancestral shame that had just been passed down to me. And of course, everything I'm talking about here is completely out of our conscious mind. This is not, somebody purposely, I'm going to give you shame. Like, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about these patterns that are in our actual DNA, that are in our energy, that come to us unconsciously, but that do affect us in this lifetime. So tonight we're going to work on doing the same kind of thing I did. We're going to invite ancestors into our sanctuary. And the way that we're going to do this, and I wanted to talk about this briefly, and you may, if you're new to this, you may find me, I'm building on some things we've done previously, but by all means, please go back and watch those and practice those meditations. But you don't need to have done them for tonight's meditation. I'm going to walk you through everything the way that I always do. But a couple weeks ago, we did a meditation on joy, where we stepped into this waterfall of joy that opens us to divine bliss, to divine love. And this waterfall is in your sanctuary. I didn't specify that at the time because it wasn't important for the meditation, but we've been working on building this entire planet that belongs just to you. This is a special place that's unique to everyone, that's in your spiritual realm, that's also kind of inside. And again, the terminology is not that important, and the where isn't that important, but it's important to know that all of these things can exist in your energetic sanctuary. So the plan tonight is to open to inviting ancestors into your energetic sanctuary. If you're not open to it, that's completely fine. If you don't feel comfortable or ready to do that, we're going to go into the sanctuary and we're going to go back to our joy waterfall, and you can just bliss out and let that joy flow into you and not do any of the ancestral work. But if you're interested in the ancestral work, I invite you, as always, to stay open, try to release expectation. I never know what's going to happen when I start these meditations or where exactly we're going to go. I have kind of a feeling for it. And I did a little bit of this meditation on my own earlier this week. And so I know that it's going to be another powerful one, but I don't know exactly how it's going to go, other than we're going to go to our waterfall. So the idea is that we're going to invite our ancestors in. We're going to invite them to step into that flow of divine joy with us. And I love the image of a waterfall. That came to me spontaneously when we were doing that joy meditation, because water is so cleansing. There's a reason that, religions use water for baptism. It's a way of energetically, emotionally, symbolically cleansing, and literally cleansing. Of course, it's water. So that's what came to me when I was thinking about doing this meditation tonight, and that's the plan. So I think I've got everything on. I always like to check my notes in case I forgot something. Okay. So just a brief little reintroduction to meditation that I try to do every week. Be gentle with yourself. Don't put pressure on yourself. If things are not happening, if you're not feeling it, if the imagery I'm using is not working for you, that's completely okay. You are your best guide. I'm here to kind of guide us overall. But if something comes to you that's different than what I'm telling you, go with that. Your intuition is very powerful. And that's a big part of this work that we're doing, is learning to tap into our own intuition, learning to open to this flow of information that's available to all of us when we're in the right state of mind, and when we can open our energy and let this in. So if your mind starts to wander, if you get distracted, that's fine. If you get emotional, I always encourage nice deep breathing, and we'll start with that deep breathing with the big open mouth sigh. That's always great if you're starting to get emotional. If you watched the video last week when I was talking at the beginning, I got kind of emotional, and then I was like, whew, and that was kind of that was a short version of that same sort of breath. Using a little bit of sound to push the breath out helps transfer, helps get you out of the sympathetic and into the parasympathetic nervous system. So out of that fight or flight mode and into a more relaxed mode. And that's where we want to be, of course, for meditation and winding down, and also to do this energetic work. So be gentle with yourself as usual. Join me, come as far along on the meditation as you like, as usual. Sit up if you can, as usual, because if you lie down, you might fall asleep. But if you're comfortable lying down and you don't fall asleep, that's fine. It's great to have some part of your body contacting the floor, though. And I will usually reference the part of the body that's contacting the floor to kind of get us grounded. Anytime we're traveling out, which is kind of what we're doing energetically, we want to be nice and grounded and in the body first. And we always want to make sure that we come fully back into the body. And I'm careful about doing that at the end of these meditations. So again, I encourage you, if you end up with any questions or comments, you can leave them in the post below. You can contact me on Facebook Messenger or through my website. All of these episodes are available on my website, which is paulataylorenergy.com. And I think that's all I have to say before we start. Find a nice, comfortable position. Have at least one part of your body touching the floor. If it's your feet, let them be flat on the floor. If you're sitting on the floor, just let your bottom contact the floor comfortably. I like to start with the hands in front of the heart, just to bring the awareness and the attention to the heart, to the body. And as always, let's start with 3 deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And you can let them out with a nice big sigh. Let yourself come back into your body here. You've probably been in the mind all day, working, thinking, talking. So give yourself a couple minutes of deep breath and silence here to let yourself come back into the moment. You can briefly spend a minute collecting any energy that you've left behind today. If you had an argument with someone, if you felt like you were working really hard and you left part of that in your workspace, call that energy back to you before we get into the meditation here. Just invite any extra energy you've left behind to come back into the body here. This is a great practice to do every evening. Bringing this energy back to yourself can wake up feeling more refreshed. And then imagine the top of your head opening, that crown chakra area. You can pick any color of light that seems good to you tonight. I'm seeing a white purple, but it could be any color. It could be white. It could be no color, whatever works for you. Imagine a light flowing in through the top of your head. Let it come down fully into your head, into your brain. Let it come into your jaw and your face. Continue to take deep breaths and sigh as you need to let them out, as you let this energy come into your throat, into the back of your neck and your shoulders. Let this energy flow down your arms, the upper arms and elbows, into your wrists and hands. You can keep your hands at the heart or relax them into your lap as we do this. Continue to let this light, this energy flow through your chest and upper back, into your belly and mid back, the low belly and low back. Let this energy come into your hips and your pelvis. You can place your hands on your thighs for the next part if you like, to help encourage that energy to really come into the lower body. If you've been floating around as a head today, if you've been in your mental space, this is your chance to reconnect with the physical, to get back into your body fully. Let that light, that energy come down your thighs and into your knees. Take a nice big breath into the knees. Send some gratitude to the knees for all the support they give us, energetically and physically. And then continue to let that energy flow down through the lower legs into the ankles and feet. And tonight I want you to picture a root, like a tree root, forming at whatever part of your body is contacting the floor, the base of your feet, the base of your spine. And imagine that root traveling deep down into the earth. Connect with the dark, fertile energy of the earth here. Let it flow into your feet. The energy we bring in from above, mingling with this supportive energy of the earth. This earth works so hard to support us, even when we abuse it. Let yourself feel a little gratitude for the earth here before we leave it. If you're comfortable, you can turn your hands up here in your lap, encouraging the flow of energy, the flow of consciousness and awareness up and out of the body. You're going to very gently start to leave the physical body. Picture yourself floating upward. Maybe you're just a few feet out of your body. You're the top of your space. And as you're ready, continue to float upward. You're outside of your town or city now, looking down like you're in an airplane. You keep floating upwards. You're at the edge of the atmosphere. You can see the earth from above. And stop for a minute and just admire the beauty of this planet. And then set your intention to travel to your planet, to your energetic sanctuary. The intention will draw you there, even if you've never been there before. If you're struggling with the visualization, that's okay. Just let the intention take you to the most beautiful place you can imagine. A place that instantly feels like your home, like your sanctuary, like your safety net. This is your energetic sanctuary. If you're traveling to it as a planet, you can stop and admire the planet from space, noticing if it's a different color from the colors you're used to. How does it look? Is it water? Is it land? Is it something completely different? And then as you're ready, descend slowly and gently onto your planet, into your energetic sanctuary, starting at that most safe, holy space that we've been to several times before. This is kind of your home base in your sanctuary. There's many other places on your planet that we will explore, that we will create, but this is the place you'll come to most often. This is the place where we met our loved ones last week. Perhaps it's a beautiful outside scene. Perhaps you're inside in a building that feels comfortable for you. There's no wrong answer here. Let yourself come fully into this space. Notice how it feels. Notice how it smells. Notice if there's a breeze on your face. If you're outside, what the scenery looks like. If you're inside, notice whether there are any furnishings around you. What does your energetic sanctuary look like? What does it feel like? Is there anything you'd like to place here that you can leave here? You can put things here and take them out as needed. So I tend to be on a beach. Sometimes I have a beach house. Sometimes my house has a piano. Sometimes it looks like my great aunt's house when I was growing up. Anything that comes to you here from your intuition belongs here. Anything that feels safe to you is safe to place here. So look around and notice if there's anything you'd like to place, if anything showed up while you were opening to that idea. We're just briefly revisiting this sanctuary before we head to our waterfall. And let's say just a brief word, a brief prayer of gratitude that we have this space, that we have the ability to open to this intuitive realm, to this spiritual realm. If you participated in the loved ones meditation last week, send out a bit of gratitude for that connection or the possibility of connection if you haven't made it there yet. That's okay. There's no pressure here. There's no judgment. You work at your own pace. Everyone's pace is different. And now we're going to travel to our waterfall. If you were there before, you could head straight there. The great thing about traveling in the spiritual realms is that you can be there in a blink of an eye. You don't have to bring supplies. You don't have to hike anywhere unless you want to. You can get there the old-fashioned way, but you can also just think waterfall and be there. If you're new to this practice, then imagine the most beautiful waterfall you could possibly imagine and set your intention to go there in your space. Look around and notice what the scenery looks like. There's so many varieties. You could have all new colors, all new plants that you've never seen before, that don't exist here in this physical realm. Anything is possible in this spiritual realm, in your sanctuary. And everything here makes you feel safe and secure and loved and supported. Nothing can come into this space that can harm you. And when we open it, when we invite others in, the intention is there that it is only for our highest good and their highest good. So let go of any expectations. We're not looking for anyone specific here. And we want to stay open to whoever shows up with this invitation out of love for the highest good. I want you to stay on the banks. You're not in the water yet. We're going to invite our ancestors in here from the banks and then all step into the water together. So as you're ready, set the intention to invite any ancestors that would like to come. Let them come into your space now. If you're not comfortable with this, then just have a seat on the side of your waterfall and you can join us in the water in a minute. Just enjoy the beauty, the scenery of this space. If you're opening to these ancestors, give it a minute. You might not feel anything at first. You might not feel anything this first time in meditation, and that's always okay. This will be available for you to repeat as needed. If you're getting a lot of ancestors, you might have to make your waterfall area a little bit bigger in your mind. And as these people come in, you may see actual people or faces. You may just feel the presence of people, as I did last week. I didn't see anything necessarily. It was more of a feeling of all of these people around me. When you get a sense that whoever is meant to come today is here, give yourself a minute to say hello. We're working on dealing with trauma, on healing trauma. So we want to give space here. These traumas have been around for many years, maybe centuries, maybe longer. So the first thing we want to do is acknowledge we see you we see that this trauma is still here. And we want to send compassion to the people who went through this trauma. They may have lived through wars or genocide, a changing of their entire lifestyle, of their entire culture. So let's hold space for that. Let's hold love. Take a nice deep breath. Let it out through the mouth if you need to. This is a heavy burden that these people have been bearing for so many generations. And we're inviting them to throw this trauma into this cleansing water. If there's something they're holding on to, whether or not it was passed to us in this lifetime, we are giving an opportunity for healing here. Out of love, out of compassion, out of the understanding that healing ripples out. The healing that we provide here ripples out to the rest of the world that we're in now. The healing that we can do of these ancestral traumas makes life less painful for the people who have descended from these ancestors, including ourselves. This is a very sacred undertaking, so be in reverence here. Be respectful. These ancestors have been here to support us, and now we invite them to let go of traumas, to let go of emotions that no longer serve our ancestral line, our personal, generational line. And as you're ready, invite your ancestors to step into the pool of water with you. This is that pool of divine bliss, of joy, of unconditional love. This water cleanses and fills us with a spiritual love and light. This water washes away this trauma. It doesn't excuse it, but it allows these spirits to be set free of the trauma that may have still been binding them, that's been passed down to us. Invite your ancestors to step all the way in under that beautiful flow of water, of divine light, of divine love, of joy and bliss and beauty. Remember how gentle this flow of water feels as you step underneath it, like the gentlest, warmest rain shower. And invite your ancestors to come into this space with you. And while you're here, let yourself release these traumas as well. They've been stored in the body, in the DNA, in our energetic space. Again, we release these with reverence, with love, with compassion. We're not discounting anything that happened to anyone in the past. In fact, we're honoring their pain, their struggle, by allowing them to release it, by allowing ourselves to release this in this lifetime, to end this cycle of trauma so that we don't pass it on. There's so much beauty here. There's so much love and support and power in this ancestral line. We're going to embrace the beauty and the love and the support that created our families, ourselves in this lifetime. As you feel ready, you might have a word to say. You might have an actual ceremony where you just briefly touch each of these ancestors, or all at once. You might have a baptismal ceremony where you actually allow them to duck down under the water to cleanse themselves before they step out. And very slowly, gently, with love, as you're ready, let yourself come back toward the banks, come back out of the water. You might sit on the side and dangle your legs in to keep contact with this beautiful space, with this healing, divine light and love. This is the time to ask for any messages that your ancestors may have to give you, any words of guidance, of wisdom, anything you should know before you head back to your physical space. And as you're ready, thank your ancestors for coming. Send them off with love and compassion, with an open invitation to return as you'd like. This is a resource you can return to, you can tap into, to give yourself strength, to let yourself feel loved and supported in this physical plane by these people who are also in this physical plane at one time, living on this earth. And then slowly come back to your home base, to your sanctuary within a sanctuary. Let yourself linger here for a moment, enjoying the last few moments of this experience before we head back to the body. And then as you're ready, set your intention to return to Earth. Let yourself slowly float away from your planet, back to the Earth. You can pause for a moment, as we often do, to admire the Earth from afar. Maybe send a little blessing here, a little gratitude to the Earth before you come back to it. And then as you're ready, let yourself float back down through the atmosphere, back toward your home, the place that you're at right now, your city, your town. Let yourself come back into the space that you're in, the room you're sitting in, or if you're outside, to that space. Let yourself come back into your body. Let your energy flow back in through your head, down into the neck and throat, the arms, the chest and upper back. Let yourself come back into the belly, the mid back, the low back. low belly and pelvis. Let yourself settle into the hips. Flow back down the thighs into the knees. Flow down the lower legs to the ankles and feet. And repeat after me. You can repeat this silently or out loud if you'd like. I am fully present in my body. I am fully present in my body. And once more, I am fully present in my body. Let yourself sit in gratitude for a moment for this experience. Give yourself some gratitude for doing this work, for sitting in meditation, for committing to this practice. Send some gratitude to your ancestors if they joined you today, to your energetic sanctuary itself. And again, send some gratitude to the earth itself today. Let your feet feel the contact of the earth. You can imagine that you're in a beautiful garden. You're burying your toes in some rich topsoil, or you're on a beach in the sand. Wiggle your toes a little bit, imagining that you're fully connected to the earth here, to the ground. If you'd like to gently close the crown chakra, you can just let it rotate shut. You can also keep it open with the intention that you only allow energy in for your highest good, for the highest good. As you're ready, you can wiggle your fingers a bit, move your head and neck around. Really let yourself come back into the body here. And as you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you again for joining me tonight. I sit in gratitude for this collective practice, and I encourage you to continue with this practice. Join me next week. Leave any comments or questions that you have. Enjoy the rest of your night and the rest of your week, and I will see you next Wednesday.